Okay, so this is part one of our three-part inflammation series. So the main thing we're going to focus on today is sugar. And we're going to talk about all of the different conditions that sugar is related to, maybe one little history on it. So basically, added sugar, right? Not sugar from fruit. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Added sugar is probably the most inflammatory substance that we consume currently. It's linked to a whole slew of chronic conditions, which again I'm going to go through in a little more detail. But some of these things are obesity, diabetes, arthritis, depression, leaky gut, I will talk about as well. And some of these things can be autoimmune diseases. So you can see it's kind of like a chain reaction that occurs. Okay. Now, is it fair to say that sugar causes these conditions? Not necessarily, but almost all chronic diseases are related to inflammation. Okay, so eating sugar is just one way that we feed that beast. That's chronic inflammation, and therefore you increase your risk of developing something else. Okay, so let's get the basics out of the way first. So sugar is glucose. Glucose is the building block of all carbohydrates. Okay, so glucose is what all sugars, no matter what kind they are, whether they come from fruit or from a cake or from a soda, they all break down to the same thing, which is glucose. All right, your body needs glucose to survive. All right, that's what your cells make energy out of. All right, so you can't go without glucose. It's just not an option. So simple versus complex. So simple sugars are smaller molecules. They digest very quickly, and that's what creates a sugar spike or a blood sugar spike. So these are things like pure sugar, honey, brown sugar, syrup, jam, soda. Okay, so these things don't really have any nutritional value in other words. Now the complex sugars are larger molecules, which means they take a longer time to break down. They digest a little more slowly. They tend to have more fiber, so you're not going to see that sugar spike or that instant sugar uptake by the cell. All right, so these are your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your legumes, your rice. So it just goes without saying that these are the ones you really want to focus on in terms of what you're consuming. Okay. The American diet, probably no surprise to anyone, is very high in sugar. So anyone in this room will be shocked by that fact. Just to give you an example, even a glass of orange juice, which is about 15 grams per half a cup, okay, half a cup being probably about that much, maybe not much bigger than that cup, plus a standard yogurt, which is somewhere around 30 grams. So that's about 5 tablespoons of sugar just in your breakfast. And you think you're doing so good, you think this is so healthy, having yogurt and orange juice. Yeah. And now when I say yogurt, I mean your standard like Yoplait, something like that. The Greek yogurts are going to be a little bit better in this department. So just for that. But the average person consumes about 22 teaspoons a day. All right, which doesn't sound like a lot until you actually, one of these days I'm going to make a graphic for you guys. I'm actually going to put 22 teaspoons of sugar into a bag so you can see how much that really is. This is about a 50% increase from 50. Okay, so just in the past 50 years or so, we have extremely increased our sugar intake. Again, no surprise, still have our obesity and diabetes rates. Okay, this is not a coincidence.
Hello, Esther. Hi.
Hi, I'm here.
Can they hear me?
Yes, they can hear you now.
Hi.
Okay. Did you get the email with the handout?
I had to check. I wasn't looking for anything.
Okay. Yeah, just as we go along, if you've got a chance to go back and look for those. Same thing, Christina. We sent some handouts.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yep, I see it now. Thank you.
All right. But yeah, you didn't miss too much, Esther. We're just on the second section about the American diet. Okay. So negative health consequences of excess sugar intake, in addition to the things we sort of already talked about, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, and low good cholesterol. Okay, so your HDL is your good cholesterol, your LDL is your bad cholesterol. So it breaks down the good and it elevates the bad. It also can lower your insulin sensitivity, and this is a good start on the path to type 2 diabetes. Okay, so type 2 diabetes is where you have increased insulin resistance, which means you're less sensitive to insulin. So you want to be sensitive to insulin. That's a good thing. Also, a hormone called leptin, which is kind of your fullness hormone. It's the hormone that tells you when it's time to stop eating. Right? So you're less sensitive to that, which means your body doesn't necessarily hear the signals of being full as much, okay? And then fatty liver, which is literally having too much fat in your liver. We'll talk about that a little bit more as well.
Hold on a minute.
So just 12-ounce soda a day, which is your standard can of soda, all right, increases your diabetes risk by 26%. Okay, by 1/4. Now this is one soda. You know, many people drink several. So it's unclear whether this is the soda itself or that the soda causes you to gain weight, which then increases your risk of type 2 diabetes. So we don't really know. Either way, it doesn't really matter, does it? Either way, it's again a brick in the wall, as they say. No study has really been able to figure it out. But I think it goes without saying, watching the soda would be a smart decision. So another issue with high sugar diets is that they increase what are called inflammatory cytokines. So cytokines are these molecules of proteins that your body releases during times of infection or any other kind of like an allergy. Okay, so they're like the attackers. Okay, so when you're in a state of inflammation, the cytokines are being flooded through your bloodstream trying to fix whatever the problem is. Okay, so this is normal when you're sick or if you get injured or in a fight or flight situation. Okay, it's normal. But what's not normal is when your body is releasing small amounts of them all the time. Okay, so that's the difference between normal inflammation or what we call acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Okay, so you only want those cytokines to be released at certain times. So when these cytokines are released, they increase your production of free radicals. All right, do you guys know what those are? Have you ever heard of this term before? Okay, well, you know what antioxidants are, right? So antioxidants are the opposite of a free radical. So antioxidants like neutralize them. Free radicals are literally oxygen with no base. So you know what we breathe is O2, right? Oxygen. So free radical is one oxygen. And it's so funny to me, I love chemistry, how one oxygen is like deadly, but two oxygens you need to live. You know, it's just, anyway.
You think of like something that's oxidated, like protein or.
Right, that means it's been oxygen. It's got oxygen reacting with it. So it's just, I'm disturbing, I'm sorry. Okay, anyway, so this is called oxidative stress. So when you hear the term oxidative stress, that's what this means. You're in a constant state of these free radicals being released into the body. Again, these are meant to be an acute response, not a chronic one. Chronic inflammation is also linked to heart disease development. So oxidative stress damages your cells. So it lowers the cell's ability to repair itself. We have lots of really cool little mechanisms within our body and within our cells to repair. All right, but oxidative stress suppresses those functions, which means that more cholesterol needs to be produced. So cholesterol is kind of like the body's Band-Aid. All right, so every cell in your body, there's a little wall around it, and that wall is made of fat. So cholesterol goes and sort of plumps the holes and like repairs those little damages. So it doesn't bleed or whatever else doesn't leak out of the cell that's not supposed to. And things don't get in there. Okay. So more cholesterol is produced to kind of repair this damage, and then you start seeing an elevation in your blood cholesterol. Okay. So it used to be the old school thinking is that it's all saturated fat, and you have to watch a saturated fat, which that's still kind of debatable. But you have to consider other things as well. Sugar can also do this for the reason that makes the liver pump out more cholesterol. So, depending on the genetics, that's kind of the kicker with the saturated fat thing. Some people seem to be able to eat a decent amount of saturated fat in their diet and not have a problem with cholesterol. Other people, not so much. So it seems to be a very strongly genetic thing. So, and you'll know which one you are pretty quickly when you find out you have cholesterol. And if you cut your saturated fat and your cholesterol goes down, then you know which one you are, right? So, okay. So saturated fats, most of them come from animal products. Most of them are in your meat, your eggs. But there are plant saturated fats. So like coconut is a saturated fat, coconut oil. So it's how solid the fat is, basically. Some of them. Coconut oil is allowed, but you can't have butter. You can't have, but again, so if you, let's say that you have never had a cholesterol problem, and let's say, this by no means means you should be increasing your saturated fat intake. You shouldn't be going out of your way to eat more fatty meats during this or more coconut oil or for whatever, then you're not. So just, don't be excessive with things. Okay, so then just continue to do what you've been doing, which is to watch these on the saturated fat that you eat, so that we're not going to see a change in that. So if you already were eating butter because you have high cholesterol, if you weren't already eating fatty meats, which you're not doing, if you're not frying food, then it shouldn't make any difference in that. It may help even, we'll see. This may also tell you if you're a person affected by sugar, because if you're cutting out all the sugar, your cholesterol gets better. So it just depends on the person. But yeah, you should not be eating any more saturated fat during this detox than you have been eating in your daily life anyway. Okay, put it that way. Okay, so let's talk about the gut. So basically with sugar, the more that you eat, the more you want and the more you absorb in your gut. All right, so you have to be really mindful of this because the gut is the center of all things. Anybody who listens to me talk about anything ever regarding nutrition, I have brought up your gut at some point, okay, because it is so central to our health.
We've got a little kombucha here, guys. You see what's in the bottom?
We'll show you the bottle, Esther and Christina, so you guys can see what they look like. But this is the drink we were talking about last time.
I don't know if you can see that. See the stuff on the bottom? Okay, so that's the bacteria. That's the live bacteria. So you don't shake these things up because you will not be able to.
Yeah, they didn't open them. And they will float over.
Exactly. And you don't want to agitate them actually because they'll die faster. So you actually want it. So this is the same thing that's in your yogurt. It's just they're not visible in your yogurt. Same thing. I saw your face.
So if you're really afraid of that, don't be the last part of the bottle.
Yeah. But it's really very good. It's very refreshing. I'm a fan of kombucha. And this is the one thing on this detox you can have that has sugar in it. Because, yes, so it's a little bit bubbly, so it's nice if you're a soda drinker because it gives you kind of that satisfying bubble taste. If you're not used to it, I would suggest you try one of the sweeter ones. Probably one of the either of these two would be fine. The trilogy has raspberry, and the other one is a berry, ginger cranberry. They're all really good. So this actually is a good segue into our. You should try it. It's dry. It's really good.
Ginger berries, they have lovely they have
Yeah, with the like a lemongrass, you don't never really good. Yeah, I don't like the ginger sound like weird. Apple cidery tasting, right? That's what you're saying. A little bit, just a little bit. A little bit. Don't overthink it. I will say it. Everybody does it the first time. I did not like it the first time I drank it. We're taste testing kombucha, guys. We're taking up and figure it out. Don't sniff it. Just. Yeah, it tastes a lot better because all you smell is vinegar.
brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because it does make a little bit of alcohol. I mean, that's part of the fermentation process, but you will not get drunk on it. Yeah. And there's not enough alcohol for it to count. I know. One more time. Although I have been known to make a big drink myself. I just don't need to really do that when you step into ginger beer. It's always been big. Some people love it, some people hate it. But anyway, so now you know. You can find it at pretty much any grocery store. So it's anywhere. But it would be a nice substitute if you get sick of drinking water all the time. And it's good for the gut, which I'm going to talk about now. Okay, so that's good transition. So it's in the produce section. Like, right, if you go right on the top. Okay, well, either way, it's like when you're walking up to the produce section, it's the first refrigerator shelf on your right. So the Kroger is like that first thing on the right, and it Food Line is the first one in the produce. And there's rows of them. And there's all these, yeah, all these too. Yeah, all these too. So yeah, you can find it pretty much anywhere.
And there's plenty of brands and flavors and all kinds, but almost everybody has this.
And that's I think personally,
It is actually.
it's my favorite.
There's a pineapple peach by Amita,
Mm-hmm.
that is good too, but I don't know how much probiotics. It seems like it doesn't have quite the.
Right, this one's got a little more of a punch. I think it's got like, I think there's like 12 billion.
So you might like a different brand of pineapple and beans. It is a really good segue. If you go to this little bit of it, it has.
That's the one I do. I want
It's a peach and pineapple, but it's a different brand. Anyway, guys, if you can get over the hurdle of the difference of it, it's so good for your digestion. It really is. If you're not a sauerkraut person, you're not a pickle person, you're not, this is great. Or if you're a soda person, it's a great thing to substitute.
This is my like first thing in the morning for me. Because I wake up, I hate the taste that's in my mouth, and like drinking water just sounds disgusting. So I drink about 8 ounces of that in the morning. I'm keep my vitamins with it. So why does it matter if this is good for your gut in context of what we're talking about? So the gut, among other things, you know, as we were talking about last time, it harbors all these little bacteria that eat this kind of thing. So these things play a big role in our immune system. Okay, so again, remember that inflammation is an overactive immune system, and it's producing all these cytokines. So the little bacteria that in your gut, they help keep the bad guys in check. Okay, and don't call pathogens. But pathogens are what cause infection. Okay, so the good guys keep the bad guys in check, essentially. All right. And then the other thing that they do is they help produce hormones for us. So they produce serotonin, which is our happy hormone, melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, and then multiple proteins and things that are related to our immune system are also produced here. In fact, most of the tissue that produces our immune cells are in our small intestine. Okay, which most people don't even think about that. It doesn't even occur to you that that's where it would be, but it's in your small intestine. So. It happens. So all of these things are made in the gut. So if your gut is unhealthy, you can't have proper immunity. You don't have correct hormones. You're not absorbing a lot of your vitamins. So there's a lot of things that can be awry if your gut is not right.
Dr. Ruth is coming up. In a good way, right? She's like diagnosing herself.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Which is the answer.
Yeah. So you need to add to your path.
Yeah, just add in our food.
Yeah. So serotonin is made in the gut and it's sent up to the brain through the gut-brain axis, which is a whole other topic that I won't get on today.
Our gut is our second brain.
Yes, our gut is our second brain. So much is going on in there. You really need to support it. So excess sugar intake disrupts all of these processes. It can actually ruin and destroy and kill those good guys, right? So when you have too many of those, that's what happens. So then at the same time, that gives an opportunity for these pathogens to start taking over. One of these guys is Candida. So Candida is a yeast. It's what gives you yeast infections. It's what gives you thrush in your mouth. All right, it's the same organism, same in the two different places. Some people can even get Candida infections with their skin. It's a little more rare, but it happens. So you always have Candida in your body, and that's okay because a small amount of it is not a problem for you because again, those good guys are keeping it in check. But when Candida is a how to grow rampant, and it grows fast. You know, these things reproduce very quickly. This is when you start seeing an imbalance. So now you have more of the bad guys and less of the good guys. This is not good. Correct. That's exactly why. Because it kills the good guys. And then, and Candida can eat antibiotics are going to touch it. So Candida's like, yay, this is my opportunity. And it just starts growing. So yes, that's exactly why we did. That's a really great connection. So, having said that, since she brought this up, I would like to say, if you are taking antibiotics for any reason, you also need to be taking probiotics. So you can call recopulate. Okay? Take them separately because the antibiotics will kill them too. So you take your antibiotics, let's say, with breakfast, wait a couple of hours or maybe till your next meal, take your probiotics. Right? And that'll help keep that cycle from starting. Because it's a lot harder to fix when it's a problem. It's easier to just open it. I know. I know.
And then another reason why kombucha is so great because it has a probiotic in it, where you might be not realizing she's referring to a supplement, like.
Yes, because this is maintenance. This stuff is maintenance. So when you're on an antibiotic, you need extra. So you would actually want to take probiotics still with lots of different organisms. Okay, so look for the list, and it should be long. You know, for one, normally they look for short ingredients. Look for probiotics, you want a long. You want all the different species. Okay. You can use something like Ultimate Flora. It's a good one. You can buy that at the drugstore. You don't need anything fancy. You just need it to have a good mission. Right. So Ultimate Flora is typically the one. About 20, 25 billion would be what you're looking for. It comes in different doses. 20 to 25 billion is usually fine. You don't want to go too high either.
You could throw it in another.
Exactly. You can have too much of a good thing too, and especially if you're not used to taking that, you can get extra gas in it. So yeah, 20, 25 billion. So just remember that if you're an antibiotic, take probiotics. Billion. Which sounds like it's crazy, but if you consider how tiny they are, that's still not even like the tip of your fingernail. If you actually look. Yeah, it'll say right on front. Yeah, it's 20 or 25 or whatever the number is. Yeah. So good point, Juanita. Thanks for bringing that up. So the issue also with the gut, so now you create this vicious cycle. So when your inflammation is high, the gut lining starts being compromised. So it starts breaking down a little bit. And when this happens, things can get out of the gut and into the bloodstream. And this is when you start having systemic problems. This is when you start having problems that aren't related to your gut, or not to you. You might start having rashes. You might start having yeast infection, thrush in your mouth, or the other kind. And then this is when this process starts happening. So food allergies tend to be caused by this. Autoimmune diseases. A lot of autoimmune diseases seem to have a link to this leaky gut situation. So normally your gut is very like this, like a fortress. Okay, I'm showing you guys these so you can see. So this is normally what your gut looks like. You have all these little, these are the little, they're called tight junctions. They're very tight together. Nothing gets out of there. But when you have leaky gut, it starts to kind of look like this. All right. So the stuff starts leaking out. Of it.
That's all the nitrogen that's in the surface area all around that. It's supposed to be close because they're the gatekeeper. They're the gatekeeper from things coming in or out. They select what's supposed to go in and out. And when they get disrupted and switch out, now things are getting crossing over that should break.
So the bacteria that are in your gut are good when they're in your gut. But if they get out your bloodstream, they don't belong there. And what happens? Your immune system says, oh, hey, this is an invader. Let me attack it. Okay? So if you have it, and this could be food, this could be gluten, this could be food protein, it could be cytokines. Okay? So they're good when they're in where they're supposed to be, but when they get out into the system, it's chaos. Okay? So then your immune system is constantly attacking those things. All right? Don't get it. And so that's what I was here. I usually draw a picture of that. Anyway, y'all got the point. Okay, so let's talk about the liver a little bit. So as I mentioned before, excess sugar can cause fat deposits on the liver, or what's called fatty liver. Sometimes you see it called NASH, right? That's like the medical term. So fructose, which is a type of sugar, this is absorbed directly into the liver. So most other sugars have to go through this whole process that I won't delve into, but fructose goes right into the liver, so it's like a direct hit. Okay, so okay, so then you should pay attention for especially. So fatty liver is like I said, where you literally have fat deposits around the liver. Okay, so normally this is not a problem if you don't have fatty liver because that fructose is used to make glycogen, and glycogen is stored as fat. All right, and this is meant for a backup system. Glycogen is for when you don't have glucose available, your body will make glucose from glycogen. All right, it's very cool like that. The body has all these backups and these kind of plan B's and C's and D's. But the triglyceride is how they're stored in fat. So too much of the triglyceride is where you start getting the fatty liver. Okay, so one way to treat fatty liver is obviously avoiding these added sugars. So not drinking soda, not drinking juices. All right, because even though juice, again, it's orange juice, you think it's healthy, but we're going to the fiber out of it, which slows down the absorption process. So juice is going right into the liver just like a soda would. Okay, so juice is not your friend. So you want to eat the fruit and not drink it, because the fiber again will sort of help slow that process. Okay. So that's number one. And then number two is avoiding added sugars. So no high fructose corn syrup, no corn syrup at all, really. All right. So again, this is another really good opportunity to read the labels, make sure nothing you're eating from high fructose corn syrup, and it should have as little added sugar as possible. All right. And after this, you got the big pros of that, right? Yeah. So not in everything. It's in everything in a box, in a packaged processed box or can, and you can get you can get ketchup without it. I've seen it. Kroger, the Simple Truth brand has no high fructose corn syrup. Yes, you have to look, but it is out there. I promise.
And that's why the detox actually is so imperative that you go through that exercise and look at those labels and you realize, holy cow, I am eating sugar when I'm on medication. I'm doing it.
Right. It's crazy because it's in things that don't even taste sweet. It's in your spaghetti sauce. Why? I mean, because chemistry, because the sugar cuts the acid, so it's not so.
Well, they also know how addictive it is. Right. So if it's great on the palate,
right.
That's the brand you're going to buy.
Right. It tastes good. You like that. So you're going to rethink your brand. You're going to rethink the things that you're buying. But I promise there are plenty of things, especially nowadays, because consumers are getting more conscientious about it. So there are some manufacturers that want to play on us as opposed to the ones who don't know any better and buy those products. Okay, so really watch out for the high fructose corn syrup. That's a big one. But generally, like I showed you guys that label on the other day on Facebook, so you want to look for that 0 grams added sugar, or at least no more than maybe 1 or 2. Okay, so again, too much fructose can increase that cholesterol production, and it can decrease the insulin sensitivity. So again, you want to be insulin sensitive. That's a good thing. So the pancreas, which is what makes insulin, starts overproducing insulin, and then the body gets all confused. There's this whole balance of things that an order that things are supposed to happen in. So, so when the pancreas starts overproducing, the body's timing of how that insulin release is supposed to work gets confused, and then you start developing that insulin resistance, and that's prediabetes, which isn't a real thing, but prediabetes, which eventually will become type 2 diabetes, if not fertility, if not taken care of. Okay. Yes. Yes. And absolutely.
When was the last time you had?
Oh, absolutely, of course. Right, they're not checking that.
Were you drinking the soda?
Oh, yeah.
So just because you cut that out, it's probably improved.
Yeah.
Anything. And that, I can't say for sure, but that could be their cause. Definitely a main cause.
So if you cut that out, I guarantee it's gone better. I'm very surprised your doctors don't monitor this, so that may be something to ask for next time you go in and tell them to take the liver test again. Well, no, it's not.
You can't have something just because it's genetic.
Right.
Very, very unlikely. You've got to have other parts to that puzzle before it becomes a problem like this.
Right.
Alcohol.
Right, and they also told me,
Oh, no.
you need a new doctor.
Sugar raises the triglycerides, which raises the
Non-alcoholic fatty liver is almost 100% diet related. Genetics are like this much of this. As with most diseases, genetics actually don't play as big a role as we previously thought. The obesity and the diabetes. Obesity and diabetes are not genetic. It's, when your mother had it and her mother had it, it's because of the generational patterns of eating. You eat the way your mother ate the way her mother ate. That's how you're taught to eat. That's how you're taught to cook. Okay, so that's it's an environmental thing, for sure. And it's in a diet. So yeah, just the fact that you cut, so it's like dietary. So I would definitely ask to have that checked. And that is absolutely not a normal part of eating. I'm calling BS on that. But anyway, I'll move on. Okay. All right, so sugar and obesity. So again, I don't think it's a surprise here that a lot of people in this country are obese. About a third right now. This number has not really gotten worse, but it hasn't gotten better in the past decade or so. So about 1/3 of people in this country, of adults, are obese. Children, about 17%, which is not good. Now we're seeing more children with type 2 diabetes, which 20 years ago was unheard of. That was not even a thing. They only got type 1, which is the whole different thing. Yeah, so they've been able to do some long-term studies. So there was a 20-year study that overwhelmingly linked obesity and sugar together. All right, so the term diabesity kind of was, which is the link between sugar, obesity, and type 2. There are very few people who get type 2 diabetes who are not obese, or at least overweight. It's very rare. It's very rare that you see a normal weight person. And in that case, maybe we could call genetics on that. But anyway, so the high fructose corn syrup, so that was invented in the 60s, and it was invented because it's cheap. It's sweeter than sugar, so they didn't have to use as much of it to achieve the effect that they were looking for. So just to give you some perspective, originally the average person was getting about 15 grams of fructose a day, and that was mostly from fruits. All right. Now on average, it's more like 135. So this is almost 10 times the amount that our previous generations were consuming, which is so scary. Because again, it's in everything. Like you said, it's in so many products. It's crazy.
You guys keep listening.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the heart. So are we starting to see all the different organs here that can be affected by sugar? I mean, it's not just one thing. All right, so the 25-year study showed that if a quarter of your calories are from sugar, you're twice as likely to develop heart disease. We're pushing it. Our average intake right now is about 20% of calories. Okay, so most of America is pushing that limit right there. So one of the issues with sugar is that
Okay.
yeah, it's in the door. Okay, so excess sugar causes the artery walls to get thick and rigid. So you want nice, bouncy arteries. They should be elastic, and like if you were to take it out of your body, you should be able to stretch it. Okay, but sugar actually hardens it and makes it rigid. So when you have rigid blood vessels, this makes it more likely to get a stroke or a heart attack. Okay, because the blood can't get through like it's supposed to, right? Blood should smoothly flow through. Hey, dear. That's peppers for me. Oh. You did a trade. Yeah. So you want to have those nice bouncy arteries. So limiting sugar will help make sure that happens. All right. The brain uses more sugar than any other organ. It needs glucose. So most of the glucose that is broken down from your food that you eat is going right up here. All right. Brain's got a lot of work to do, right? It's got to keep us alive. It's got to keep us functioning, walking, talking, even breathing, things that we don't consciously do. So the brain needs lots of energy, lots of glucose. So one of the things that sugar does is it produces dopamine. Dopamine is like, that's the thing that you get, basically anybody who's a drug addict sees constantly. dopamine is almost like a high, okay? So it makes you instantly feel really good. So sugar gives you an instant rush of dopamine. You feel really good, then you start kind of crashing. And then what does the brain say? Ooh, I want more of that, right? So you start feeding that and you start firing up dopamine when you don't really need it, right? So you can actually burn out your dopamine production in many ways. Drugs will do the same thing because they trick your brain, but sugar almost acts in the same kind of way. So you release that dopamine, you crash. You produce more dopamine, you crash. You produce more dopamine, then you crash. Okay, so this is for depression and that kind of thing and starts to be. So somebody actually scanned people's brains, some doctor, I guess, who got bored, and he was doing brain scans, and he was feeding people sugar and somehow cocaine. And maybe this is in the 70s, I don't know, yeah. Like, how do you know, like, how do you sign up for that group? Anyway, so he was actually scanning these people's brains after they did cocaine and after they ate sugar, and the brain, more areas of the brain were lighting up when they ate sugar. Cocaine, you would think cocaine would make everything go bonkers, right? No, it was the sugar. Well, it's good when it's supposed to be released. Dopamine is meant for like, oh, sex and, really happy moments, right? It's right, exactly, laughing and things like that. But when it's constantly firing, it's not like an infinite supply that your body has to take. So if it produces too much, that's when it's a problem, because that's when you get that addictive power, essentially. So the reason sugar is addictive is for that exact reason. It's the dopamine, overproduction of dopamine. Are you up with the dopamine? That's one of the really kind of dopamine. Another one is Parkinson's drug, because Parkinson's is the deficiency of dopamine. You just remember the word.
Yeah, I just remember the word.
Well,
Right. So if you're on an antidepressant or anxiety medication, it may not have dopamine in it, but it may have some effect on your dopamine production. Others affect your serotonin. That's what it does. Right. If you're on Zoloft or some kind of antidepressant, what it does is it keeps your body from burning through the serotonin so fast. You don't make more, you just conserve what you have. But how do you make more? Pop quiz. What did we talk about? Where do you make serotonin? In your intestine, in your small intestine. So the way that you make more serotonin is by feeding the gut so that the bacteria can ramp up their production. So, right. So exactly. So your kombucha, your sauerkraut, your pickles, whatever. Exactly. You sad, drink kombucha. Or drink kombucha. Craving sugar, drink kombucha. See, we're pushers, don't we? But yeah. So when you're taking antidepressant medication, you can help it work better by eating those good gut healthy foods that will help you make more on your own. Because, ideally you wouldn't want to be on that your entire life if you could help it. So if you can show your body how to make its own serotonin, the better, right? So anyway, I digress. Okay. So the process that happens when you have the sugar, you have this kind of energy, this hyperactive kind of energy, and then you start losing focus. All right. Then you get some anxiety because of that loss of dopamine, that looking for that more dopamine, get some anxiety. And this is an American Medical Association journal study, by the way. And then you have the crash. And then you repeat, right? You eat another piece of chocolate or another candy out of the bowl or whatever. So, again, no surprise here, high sugar intake is linked to depression. People who have clinical depression have a 30% higher rate of brain inflammation. So they see the inflammation of the brain in these people who are depressed. Is that necessarily directly caused by sugar? No, that's not what I'm saying. But again, it's a positive thing. It's a chain reaction. So even if you're not diabetic, the sugar will affect the brain. It can impair the memory because the inflamed brain does not function correctly. You don't remember as well. Shrinks the hippocampus, which is our memory center, and smaller hippocampus is linked to early stages of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so you want a big, nice, fat hippocampus. You want a little one. So the sugar can affect the size of that as well. And then the other thing is the glial cells. The glial cells are one of your, they're like messengers in the brain. So like, I don't know. Has anybody studied biology, like, or even in high school, like where you looked at the neurons and those little starburst looking things? Those are the glial cells. All right, so they're like the connectors. Okay, so the astrocytes have these insulin receptors, so they control how much sugar the brain gets. And if there's no receptor, that brain activity starts going down. So those insulin receptors start getting damaged with the inflammation, and so the neurons stop signaling as much, basically. They're like, oh, there's nobody here. All right, well, whatever, I guess we'll go home. So, this is what. Same with leptin is not recognized as much, so you don't feel as full, so that you'll keep eating when you shouldn't. Okay, the skin. So the skin is our largest organ, of course. So it's our major way of removing toxins, right? That's what sweat is for. Sweat is to get toxins out. So when you don't remove those toxins effectively, you're looking at acne, you're looking at eczema, you're looking at psoriasis. All right. Another issue with sugar is that it releases these things called AGEs. So these are advanced glycation end products, in case anybody wants to know what they're called. But it's a free radical, right? Remember circling back to those lonely oxygens that start wreaking havoc on you? So that's what AGEs are. So they attack your collagen. Collagen is what makes you have nice smooth skin. Right? As you get older, you lose collagen, you lose elastin, which is what keeps your skin supple. All right? So when those free radicals are attacking your collagen and your elastin, that's when you start getting wrinkles prematurely. So, you know, it is normal as, you know, to get some wrinkles, okay? But you might look older faster if you're eating a lot of sugar. Okay? Another thing to consider then is that if you have a lot of issues with acne or you have eczema, most likely it's something in the bag. So, yeah. Autoimmune diseases are hereditary. You can have, your mom can have fibromyalgia and you get psoriasis. You can have, there's like a whole club of autoimmune diseases. Those have a hereditary component. However, even as we touched on before, even things that are genetic are preventable. You might just have to do a lot more work to avoid it. Psoriasis is an autoimmune disease that it is gut related. So it's related to that leaky gut we were talking about, where all those things come out of the gut, which can happen if you're not even considering your diet, you get those antibodies from your mother. Okay, so when you were breastfed, so if you were breastfed as a baby, you were delivered vaginally, you got a lot of the bacteria that was in your mom's body. And this could work in your favor or not. But if your mom had a lot of health problems, and if she gives you all of these proteins and all these things, then so it's not exactly hereditary in terms of it being in your DNA. It's given to you through your mother's body.
If you were C-section, then this might not be necessarily
Right.
so much of a connection.
Right. Right. And actually, in general, children who are breastfed, children who are delivered vaginally are healthier. They have less health problems later in life because they get right off the bat, they get some bacteria into their body. So this is why it's so important to let kids go outside and get dirty instead of sanitizing everything, because you're not exposing them to those microbes that they need for their immune system to develop. So that's why I'm not in this whole thing. It's like hand sanitizer all the time. Okay, I get it, you don't want to get COVID, but you're also destroying the microbes that can help protect you against it. So it's a double-edged sword, So I'm not saying that you can't sanitize. Please don't tell people I said that. I'm just saying you don't need to use it every 5 seconds. Just do it.
We have a natural barrier on our skin, and eventually that can break down the barrier. Now, like leaky gut, now we're exposed to a lot of.
So it's like a shield. You have a whole layer of bacteria all over your body. If you were to look at yourself under a microscope, you'd probably freak out.
You were freaked out over that.
So yeah, it's all over you. Just that. And they're there for a reason. They're there to eat those things that can hurt you. Okay, so don't use antibacterial soap. Don't scrub your body heavily every day. Don't even shower every day if you can help it, because you're washing off all that stuff. I'm not saying be crusty. Okay, just saying that you don't have to take a stink. Right. Yeah. Right. It kills the good stuff too. You don't need it. Soap is an
Antibiotics, it kills good and bad.
correct. It's just like a skin antibiotic. Well, I mean, you know, it's unnecessary though. First of all, triclosan is now illegal, which is cool. Like they've actually taken it out because it's breaking the cancer. You know, no big deal. But the art of the process of hand washing is making soap pulls dirt off the body. That's why this soap is the way it is. That's why soap is the way it is. You don't need the antibacterial. It's unnecessary. You're doing it by doing this, and then you're still leaving intact the things that you need. So yeah, don't use antibacterial at all, ever. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I prefer hand washing or sanitizing as far as using the sport stuff, and really only do that like if you went to the grocery store and touched your grocery cart. Okay, like I understand you don't have a sink right there, so that's fine for a little on there. But don't be obsessive about it. Don't spray Clorox over everything in your house. You know, you need a little bit of okay, so don't stress. That's the next thing. Don't stress about germs, okay? So chronic stress is another problem that most Americans deal with. We live very fast lives. I don't know if anybody has lived in a country other than America, but in Europe, they are very like, whatever. They don't work 12-hour days. They eat meals for hours with their families and friends. They just chill, you know, and we're like, nope, gotta go, all the time. You know, we don't sleep well, we don't eat well, we sit a lot, right? So, and we don't manage stress well. We smoke, we drink, we shoot guns, I don't know, whatever it is that people do. So we, you know, managing stress is important. You can't necessarily eliminate the stress in your life, but how you handle it can be different. Okay, so when you're in a lot of stress, all right, so in a normal blood sugar range, which is about 75 to 100, depending on who you ask, your body's in kind of a normal state, okay? But when your blood sugar is higher, your adrenals are mobilizing. So your adrenals are what release cortisol. Cortisol is your fight or flight hormone, all right? So if you get really angry about something, or like you're really scared, and you feel like the heart beats really fast, that's your body releasing not just adrenaline, but also cortisol. So both of those things are produced by the adrenaline.
So why do you get more,
It's different. It's not the same. Yeah, they're not the same. They're related to each other. Cortisol with some changes, but that's intended to be a temporary anti-inflammatory, and they put it right into the site, although it's not really that effective. But okay, so when your adrenals are constantly releasing hormones, right? This is on your body making, right? This is something your body. Cortisol your body does not make. Cortisone is like it's called an analog, like a fake cortisol. I guess it's right, it's part two. Anyway, so cortisol, one of its jobs is to stabilize your blood sugar. And part of what it does too is it pulls, normally there's a lot of blood flow to your GI tract because it's also working hard just to take care of all the things you've been eating. So it pulls blood away from the GI and into your arms and legs. So that is whatever your body doesn't know whether it's a bear chasing you or road rage. It doesn't know the difference. So it's like, okay, well, let's take care of this. So you're in this fight or flight response. And when you're constantly stressed, that means your adrenal glands are constantly producing cortisol. Cortisol makes you, among other things, unable to burn fat. All right? So having excess cortisol makes you want fat in your body. All right? And again, you're going to start wearing out your adrenal glands because eventually they're going to get tired, and then you start getting into adrenal fatigue, which eventually becomes adrenal insufficiency, and then you're really in trouble. So it's a diagnosis. I mean, you can get it in lab. But if you're constantly tired and you don't think you should be, like, you know, like you eat really well and you get plenty of sleep, but you're still tired all the time, that could be your adrenal. If there's a ton of caffeine, that burns out your adrenal glands. That's another sign. So, but it's a lab test. They actually test something else that your adrenal glands make, and then if that level is low or high or whatever, I can't remember. if you ask for a test for adrenal, they'll say no. I just can't remember the name of it. Okay, and then the other thing it does is it makes your stomach not make hydrochloric acid. So hydrochloric acid is what you need to break down all the food that you eat in your stomach before it goes through the rest of your digestive tract. So it impairs your digestion. And if the food particles are too big when they get into your intestines, this is one of those things that the gut loves. All right, so that's why you got to chew your food up and let the acid in your stomach do its job. So people who are on these acid suppressor drugs, these Pepcid and these things that are supposed to fix your acid reflux, it's actually making it worse because you're not making enough stomach acid to digest.
Stomach acid is also a key component to killing pathogens that come in. So somebody takes sick very often, one thing to look at, maybe their stomach acid is enough to far killing things before they get to be a problem.
Especially if you're getting H. pylori infection, which is the stomach bacteria that thrives in that environment where the acid is not.
But there again is where a doctor, in a way, misinforms you because you think that the medication that's prescribing you is helping the problem. It's really just making you manage it.
Right.
The discomfort, you're managing the discomfort, but in the long run, you're exacerbating the issue.
Right. You're not actually healing the issue that you're having. So, I mean, that's typical. That's how medicine is. And I'm not knocking conventional medicine. It has done wonders for our lifespan, and a lot of people would not be alive if it weren't for that. However, their answer to everything is take a pill and take a drug instead of, hey, let's figure out what's actually going on here. What's causing this, and let's treat that. So that's where the disconnect is happening. So anyway, but I'm not saying stop taking your PPI. I'm not saying don't take your Pepcid anymore. I'm just saying when you think about if you're taking it and you're still having digestive issues, so maybe something to do that. All right, so cancer. We've got 2 more things, and then we'll be done. All right, so sugar and cancer are not directly linked, but inflammation and stress are linked to cancer. So again, we're going through steps. Eating too much sugar causes inflammation. Having too much stress causes inflammation. Those 2 things together are cancer. All right. Many cancers are linked to obesity. Again, sugar is linked to obesity. Obesity linked to cancer. Probably 20 different cancers are linked to being obese. Breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, a handful of others too. So there are some. Well, and here's the thing. So just like a regular cell, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, all of your cells need glucose. Cancer cells, they need glucose. There are our own cells that have mutated, so they're still our own cells, right? They're just uncontrolled, and that's why you get tumors, because they grow too fast, right? So just like regular cells, cancer cells also thrive on sugar, all right? So again, so sugar does not cause cancer directly, but there's a lot of intermediary things that happen that can cause cancer as a result. So insulin growth factor is one thing that cancer cells use to grow, and eating too much sugar, especially without the fiber or protein to slow that process down, releases a lot of that factor. Okay, so cancer cells do like that. Sugar is also linked to something called beta-catenin, which is inside the nucleus and the little core of the cell, and that's thought to be linked to an increase in obesity-related cancers. We don't really know why yet, but it seems that plays a role in that. So just remember, if you are going to have some sugar, make sure there's some protein in your body or some fiber. So really, honestly, if you just had a meal, it's better to go ahead and eat your dessert right after the meal instead of waiting like 2 hours to do it. Because you'll still have the protein in your system, you'll still have the fiber from the vegetables you ate. So if you gotta have dessert, have it right away, and then leave it alone. All right.
Not for breakfast. That used to be my mom. Not for breakfast. I'm like, I'll bring it off throughout the day.
Yeah. Breakfast, not egg breakfast.
Chocolate cake on the counter. We in the kitchen with a chocolate cake.
Dangerous.
Used to be.
Okay. Yeah. Let's be real. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is when your bones become weak. So normally your bones have a nice, they're solid. They have to be there. So carry our weight around all day, right? So osteoporosis is when that nice, strong matrix of cells inside our bones starts to break down. acidic phosphoric acid, which is in your sodas, especially your Coke and your colas. Phosphoric acid pulls calcium from the body in an attempt to maintain homeostasis with your acid base. So phosphoric acid definitely contributes to that. So you need calcium, you need phosphorus, you need magnesium for healthy bones. Guess what sugar doesn't have? Any of those. Sugar has no nutritional value other than it being glucose. So like, could you stay alive on sugar for a while? Yeah. If like you were in the wilderness and you had nothing but dark sugar for some insane reason, yeah, you'll stay alive for a while. You're going to be so healthy, but you'll be alive. But so it has their minerals and it can actually deplete them from the body. So you don't want to be pulling out of your blood your bone calcium because you know what? You don't make any more bone. None of us do. You guys are over 18, right? So you're not okay. Well, you still have a couple years of bone building, so good job. But the rest of us, we're not making any more bone ever. You stop making bone basically after you hit puberty, or after you're done. So like once you're not a teenager, no more bone building. So the bone, all the bone you're ever gonna get, you have when you're 19 years old. So you've got a lot of time that we can maintain that bone mass. Exercise helps, luckily. That's why you hear the term weight bearing exercise. So weightlifting, yoga, jumping, even push-ups, things like that. Anything that you have to bear your body weight for is a good way to maintain bone. So that's something you guys go on. Another issue is when that your blood sugar levels are high, your blood glucose levels are high, the blood pH starts to decrease. So your body wants to be neutral. You don't want to be alkaline or basic. You don't want to be acidic. Your body wants neutral pH. So it will do anything to make that happen. So by the way, alkaline water, alkaline diet, because your body fights it. Like, nope, this is death. Okay? Alkalinity is death. Acidity is death. Meaning in the blood. So when your blood sugar goes high, your pH starts to go up. So your bones will release calcium to bring the pH to a more neutral place. And that's the same reason that phosphoric acid from soda does that. The bones release the calcium to fix that. Or milk.
Excuse me.
Milk, you need milk for strong bones. Milk is too acidic for it to even that calcium can get into your bone. You're actually pulling calcium out because the body is trying to suffer the acid from the milk. So
Excuse me.
Yes,
Hi.
ma'am.
What did you say about alkaline water? I missed that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Here, I'll come closer so you can hear me. So I was saying that your body wants to be in a neutral pH. Like you don't want to be acid and you don't want to be alkaline. So if you try to make your blood alkaline by doing things like drinking alkaline water, your body fights it and it releases acids to make it neutral. So it's a waste of money to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me devil's advocate.
Hang on.
Devil's advocate, Esther. Our American diet is more acidic, just in general. I think that's where the alkalinity came in.
Yeah.
So and I'm already eating acidic if I like water or whatever else is alkaline. What is that now? It's technically, yeah. So I think that might be what you're going after, but like Jean said, if we just learn to eat a good diet, our body will take care of it.
Because the nice thing is that most plant foods are fairly alkaline. So if you're eating a diet rich in plant foods and you're not eating a lot of these acidic foods, which are like meats and dairy products and things like that, your body is already in pH balance, so you're good. So alkaline water is just kind of unnecessary. If you want to try to do that, you want to eat more vegetables as opposed to buying $6 water. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have one other question.
Sure.
Like I ran into an issue where I had the gout. And so I was plant-based and I was trying to figure out why I got the gout. And it was because I didn't take my high blood pressure medicine, as I guess I was out or whatever. And so it raised the acid in my body, which caused me to have the gout. The uric acid in my body, which caused me to have the gout. So that's why.
Right, but that's
go ahead.
That's different though. That's one type of acid. That doesn't mean that your blood is acidic.
Okay.
That's just what's released when you have gout, and that's what causes those crystals to form. So that's a little bit different. That the way to fix gout is to fix your high blood pressure, which is not eating salt and eating more plant foods and
You know what I mean? So you kind of have to back it up. And obviously
Okay.
take your medicine, you know. But yeah, drinking alkaline water isn't going to do a lot in the long run. But to be honest with you, though, if it makes you feel good, like I don't care. I'm not going to tell you not to, but it's just not strongly beneficial to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So magnesium is needed for calcium absorption and to what's called remineralize your bones, which is to get all those minerals in there. A lot of Americans are deficient in magnesium. A lot of us don't get enough. Also linked to depression, by the way. So deficiency of magnesium is then so a lot of times when you have osteoporosis, the doctors just put you on calcium. It's not enough. You need the calcium and the magnesium and the phosphorus. They all work together. Plus, you need that bone weight-bearing exercise, like I was talking about. So it's especially important if you have osteoporosis to make sure you're walking a lot, moving around, not just sitting, because your bones are just breaking down even more. Okay. Also, high cortisol levels can cause bone loss. I wouldn't start taking a magnesium supplement unless you're for some reason not getting it from food. I always say food first. Unless you have a severe deficiency, like if you have a vitamin D level of 10, yeah, you need to take supplements. There's no amount of sunshine or food that you're going to eat to get it to a normal level. So I would try to focus more on food sources of magnesium in general, unless your doctor says, hey, you have crazy low magnesium, then you might need supplements. The supplements are to fix deficiencies, not for like, not to be lazy and not eat the right. You know what I mean? Most of the nuts, pretty much all the nuts are a good source of magnesium. Dark chocolate, bananas, like your leafy greens are a good source of magnesium. Potatoes have okay amount, but yeah, mostly nuts. Nuts in general are going to be your best source of minerals all around. Yeah, but and any of them would be fine. I don't think.
I know you don't have plenty of food, but something have something that's not hard to come by.
Yeah, selenium. So, you know, we don't have to put all the different. Okay. So now I know everything you ever wanted to know, and then things you didn't want to know about sugar. But you know, the take home here is that reducing the added sugar in your diet, you know, almost to the point of non-existence on a daily basis. Obviously, if it's your birthday and you want to have a piece of cake, have a piece of cake. But don't eat that cake for 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Don't drink sodas, don't drink juice, you know, that kind of thing. So on a day-to-day basis, you really want to limit those added sugars to prevent the damage to all these multiple organs that we've talked about. We talked about bones, liver, gut, skin, brain, heart, okay? So nothing is separate. Everything is connected. And you know, one difference will make 50 differences. You know, one change will have multiple effects throughout the body. Even if you don't know right away, you may not feel bad at all. You know, but you're putting the brakes on a very damaging process of that chronic inflammation process. So,
Christina, did you have any questions?
Any questions, Christina or Esther? Did you have anything else?
I'm okay. Thanks.
I know it's a lot of information, which is why you guys have the handout that you can refer to later.
And if you think of things later, just let us know.
Yeah, you can message us or email or post it in the group on Facebook or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. The difference is that so